with positive discrimination, so I'm going to ask questions to Itır, if you allow me. For sure, sure. Well, we have talked about it already. Let's evaluate the past 10 years together, how many things have changed in the past decade and to what extent have they changed. Could you please evaluate the past 10 years? Well, these 10 years, well, this is a rather long period of time, so I want to divide it into two, the first 5 years and the second 5 years. And the first thing that we focus on is the technology advancements, and it's a period during which the customers were adapting ourselves, and we've experienced all these hypes, and mobility was at the heart of everything that we did. The branches and the telephone banking were all at the center of everything that we did, and customers adapted themselves very quickly in the first 5 years of this decade, and seamless experience started to take a flight actually, so everyone was focused on facial recognition, so it was a rather quick adaptation to hypes. So adaptation of customers was quite important. It was essential for us. In the entire country, all the countries, they have this capability, quick adaptation, they have this capability. So QR, for example, we have this in our lives, and 15 years ago, a speech we were having on QR, and we had European advisors, and we asked them what they thought about QR. Well, and apparently it was something that didn't have any future, that didn't promise anything. Yapı Kredi worked on it a lot on the side of regulations, KYC. We wanted to define them as well, so significant investments were made. So regulations were also convinced of the future, the potential of the future. So without QR, we cannot even go outside during the pandemic. So at one point, we weren't even able to prove that we were healthy. We were free of COVID. So Turkey always took a trailblazing role when it comes to that. I am, by the way, checking my moments, my minutes. And the second half of the decade is when blockchain enters our lives. Innovations are quite important. We learn from one another, and we empower one another through partnerships. And intention value ecosystem is quite important. It is beyond banking systems, and partnerships can be offered to customers. Financial needs can be addressed, and what else we can really address? We are also questioning this. And we have examples from Asia, we have examples from Europe and other parts of the world. So when we bring this all together, what we can offer to customers, well, we want to have something that is intertwined with life. We want customers to click on something when something crosses their minds, and they should think Yapı Kredi will be there for me. So this was the direction that we wanted to be headed, and infrastructure for that in technology terms and in technical terms, we completed them, and we are now focused on the coming 10 years. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Emre is going to take the floor now. And this is something that I personally experienced with you. Maybe in the very beginning of when we first started working as part of our cooperation, we didn't even have the signals that such things could happen. So it's really great that we have covered such a long distance. So how do you see the industry? Well, Itır came up with a great framework. I'm going to divide this into two, but I would like to start this division from the pandemic, because the pandemic has turned upside down everything. It has turned upside down everything, and the pandemic was the starting point that really pushed everything to be quicker about digitization. And when we look at it from today, the technologies have entered our lives. So this was something that was already happening, but acceleration is what I'm focusing here. And with the pandemic, it peaked quite well. And the past 10 years, financial technologies have been quite disruptive, and they have shaken traditional ways of doing business and ways of doing traditional methods. So this has been a decade that we've all been through. Consumer expectations have changed in a very rapid manner, and corporations in the same vertical, as well as the institutions in different verticals, started to compete with one another. So a mobile banking application, for example, when you look at it, it can be it could be competing with a car rental platform, or a car rental platform could be competing with a e-commerce platforms. So this has been something that technology has disrupted and technology has accelerated. So consumer expectations have changed. So in terms of payment systems, many novelties have been quite important, and they've all been part of our lives. And we are a lucky country in that, well, we go through many difficulties and hardships, but we have a young population, and this is the youngest population in Europe. And we have great capabilities of adaptation, and we have great resilience. And financial technologies, this is the topic of the day, and the technology generated in Turkey, fintechs generated in Turkey, are also can be compared to other technologies in the world, and I believe that they are even better than all the other fintech technologies developed in other countries. So I believe that we have captured the wave very well, and all the institutions have understood it very well. Traditional institutions have understood this mentality. So our mental transformation has been completed in a very mature manner. Okay, let's approach it from this kind of a perspective. You were on the side of advising. Could you please have a look at the past decade from this kind of a perspective? So 10 years, yes, this is quite important, and we need to divide it. And COVID is basically the milestone here, because all these experiential things that we did, they were actually serving something that could be real. So customer always was there, but customer has changed. Customer has now more expectations. They started to expect speed and good pricing, and more expectations have come along, and this has driven competition as well. It wasn't only banks, and other players have seen it as well. So they've started expecting the same things that they would expect from other service providers, and COVID has added further speed to it. So we have reached a position that we wouldn't have been able to reach without COVID. So today, everything is about new technologies that open the way for us, and this is going to deliver many benefits for customers as well. May 2021, 5% or 10% was the benefits of the financial technologies, and now it is 35%. So in the past 2 years, we have already achieved what we all targeted, but we still have a progress to make. But I believe that regulations will also allow us, and because customers have a lot of expectations, so regulations add to the pie. And digital banking, for example, 5 banks have started establishing their activities, and customers are also included in this pie. And in the last pillar, we need to think about technologies, and we need to think about agile work. And we have new methods in terms of agile working. We are adapting our methods. Banks are doing that as well, and there is a need for acceleration. Hybrid work is quite important here, and the change of behavior has been something internalized. For the employees, they want to adopt hybrid. Chris, we talked with him online, and we have become hybrid as well. And it is great that we have started holding this event in person. The world is becoming a hybrid world, and it is a connected world, and this is something that's lasting and permanent. And this is something that everybody has been expecting, and banks and companies that do it in the best manner will be quite successful. And there is always a human factor, and I am really delighted delighted to see you all in person, because all these online means, they could only help us to a certain extent. So adaptation, let's talk about your adaptation period. As a bank, what did you do in this transformation? What did you really experience internally? I could only estimate that, so from an external perspective, I want to hear what you did, what we experienced, and what awaits us. We are focused on the coming 5 years and 10 years. I was having a talk with ChatGPT. What do you anticipate? Is there anything that you'd like to remind me of? I talked with ChatGPT. And now we can sense something. AI-centered future is what awaits us. But what do we do for that? I mean, what steps are we taking by considering the future? Well, digital onboarding is something that we've been talking about. I would like to emphasize that a bit. Before the regulations, we wondered how we could do it at Yapı Kredi, how we could really offer it to customers, and the most ideal ways were created and established, and we supported the regulations with the efforts that we undertook, and I believe that we pioneered in terms of other banks, and we have been maintaining our vision, and it was quite important to be a visionary bank, and we are doing it for the future as well. What awaits us, what the future holds for us, what do we need to do for this? And the banks have always been operating with close links with regulations, and what do customers expect from us? We also need to think about that. Open banking, together with open banking, we need to also, I mean, we are talking about banks, but soon, in the near future, new players will be on board with us, and we would like to offer everything together. But this is the life that we're headed towards. But at the same time, it's like to address other needs that they have. For example, we want them to view their other accounts. We want them to receive their car-related reminders, and I want to also come to us when they have their rental fee increase periods. I would like to remind customers that rental fees would be raised and they need to plan themselves. So we have a new concept for this. It is called a super app, but we would like to call it Benim Dünyam, which means my world. And this week we are very excited about this particular thing, because new changes, this vision, have been reflected into this vision. This is something that we want to focus on in the coming 5 to 10 years, and we've already started offering them. You can see it on the screen. This is how how customers can see all their assets on other banks as well. So this is the concept of my world, and this is going to be something that will allow them to enter a super app. Being inside of life is quite critical, but technology is also advancing quite rapidly. Cryptocurrency is something that we talk a lot about, but cryptocurrency isn't only a buzzword. This is a rather giant technology. Blockchain, for example, when it comes to its birth, open innovation, you needed to be open to it, because it was, regardless of time, independent of time, it was about individuals developing their own data, and it was the mindset of the customers who wanted to keep and store their own data. And KYC, who would really deliver it, how to really move about it, and AI then comes into play. KYC, the AI infrastructure, we can make use of it, and we can combine it with IoTs and all these worlds. I can offer this all with Benim Dünyam, meaning my world. So today we expect a heavy rainfall, and IoT can measure the rainfall. So this also means that there is a risk my car could get damaged, and in this case I can warn my customer about that. So I'm expecting a heavy rainfall today. Maybe you need to put it in a safer spot. This is the information that I want to deliver to customers. So this is how we position ourselves, and our core objective is to make people's lives simple, and we want to make sure that they have more time for fun and leisure. Thank you. İşbank'tan. This is great. Well, this is good. Turkish banking system and Turkish fintech ecosystem, they're quite strong, they're quite robust, because customers are now in the center of everything that we do, and the world that surrounds them, it's quite a dynamic world, and it's quite a pleasurable world. And the entire ecosystem has been thanks to the pioneering role that we've all played. And when you place customers at the heart of everything that you do, together with these technologies, backed by these technologies, you can manage all the functions, customers and consumers, all the value propositions that you offer to them, you can offer them from a single spot. So this is what we do in terms of super apps. So this was something that we wanted to focus. So payment systems, though, for it is not only about the individuals' lives, commercial life is also changing. And embedded finance, for example, this is how we describe it. Banking is there, it's present, but banks do not really exist physically. So non-financial interfaces could be there where financial services are offered. So this is how the world is, where the world is headed. Open banking, banking as a service, they are all positioned this way. So all the concepts, when we bring them all together, financial products will be more democratized, and consumers will be able to consume whatever they wish at the time they wish and at the place they wish. It is thanks to fintechs and the banks coming into play and all the other players in the banking system coming into play. They're also going to be more affordable because the experience will be improved, but at the same time technologies will be more affordable. So this is how life is going to be organized. So it's not only going to be about banks and fintechs. Giant technology companies will be also delivering financial solutions. So all firms will be somehow converting themselves into financial companies. So this is the change that we are all pushed to go through. With open innovation, we've been focusing on that API, for example, that we have for the past 7 years. We're working with technology companies and startups. So we were delivering it to them as a service, but it is not possible to consume them in an open-end manner. And then we've had embedded finance in our lives. So the consumer traffic inside the platforms. Well, we've started seeing the platforms that both providers and consumers were receiving, and now platforms and banks are intertwined with one another. Banks have been integrated with them, or banks are going to develop their own platforms. So the traditional banking is going to change. Maybe it's going to be more refined, but this will not mean that consumers will be prevented from consuming whatever they want. So this is the change that we are expecting, and we are at the year 6 for our banking app. 12.5 million active users we have in our app, and inside of it we have different sub-apps. For example, Aracım Plus, for example, 2 banks apps are there. So alongside the life cycle of customers, we offer everything that they will need, and we would like to stand out. We would like to offer them a more pleasurable experience, and we have released a product that will push us, drive us to compete with ourselves. And only a few months back we've released it. So a bank positioning itself as a fintech, why would a bank try to disrupt itself as a fintech? It is because we want to offer a value proposition to them. So if you position yourselves like that, you need to risk competing with yourself as well. So in different verticals, you need to do it. Maybe bringing them together in banking, it's not really possible normally, but İşbank is now bringing together different verticals. So we are both inside the platforms and ecosystems, and at the same time we are pushing and driving our own companies. E-commerce platform we had, for example, an agricultural platform, or we did a spin-off like that for agricultural technologies platform, and we're trying to build its vertical right now. And in the coming 2 weeks, we are establishing another platform, and I don't really want to spoil the surprise of it, so I'm not describing it any further. So what can banks really do, and what kind of a system can we come up with? I wanted to talk about it, but so the ecosystems and platforms will be our future. So a new platform you have as well, and maybe in the next session you will be talking about that platform. I think it's going to be at Hall 3, right? And could you please talk about the developments that you've all experienced? What did we do? Digital strategy, we have established it. We have established our roadmap. We've placed the customers at the heart of it. And if you think about them as a more superior segment, more savings and more investments they were expecting, and they wanted to receive them in the most quality manner, in the fastest manner. That's why we wanted to call it a digital value proposition rather than an app. And everything starts with people. And to people, we brought them together, and agile working, we've adopted it, and we established our teams and tribe and all other protocols. We have established them. The technologies, we've acquired them, and in the areas where we needed the best partners, we started working with them. We worked with over 30 partners. We have chosen the most qualified partners. So it was like puzzle for us. And we've always focused on investment at Odeabank. So we have turned our faces to saving banking, and we have brought them all together in a single app. You can experience that in the booth, and we have launched it in March. It's not even a month since we last did it. What kind of a journey was that? What kind of an adventure was that? Well, it's not really easy to do it. It's not really easy bringing together people with different backgrounds and of different expertise. It's not easy, but we did it, and we have finalized the app. We did the pilot of it. We worked with it. We worked on it with internal customers. And what did we earn from it? What do the customers see? First, they want to be empowered in terms of investments and in terms of savings. So we needed news to empower customers, analyses we need, and audio bulletins or theme-specific training courses. They wanted to have them because they wanted to be empowered, and the fastest and the quickest experience. You could do that. It's possible. And when we do it all, Mehmet, for example, when you need any investment, when you are in need of savings, this is a one-stop shop. In terms of banking requirements, we stand by you. Credit cards and other current accounts, we offer them. And banking services, we continued delivering banking services. Yes, you have certain objectives, but it is not really easy to follow it up. So it is important to act as a consultant. For example, savings and target-based savings. We are supporting it with AI right now, and it's actually going to be a maiden service in Turkey. So people need to pursue their dreams, and they need to be saving money, but they need to be supported by consultants. AI comes into play here, and not everybody has the means to access such kind of a system. So self-services are quite important as well. And was it really enough for the digital world? No, it wasn't. We always would like to call it financial and digital. When you are focused on digital investments and savings, people still need a physical existence. So they they felt the need for consultants. So we wanted to make sure that they had access to investment consultants. But we did it on the mobile. So customers are in the very center of everything. The services and the partners and consultants are surrounding the customer, which is at the very center of everything. It's been a month. We're very excited. We want you to work it. We will work on it. We want you to also provide us with feedback, onboarding. We wanted to be very fast, and we wanted to make sure that people tested the flavors. So we established another structure. So it's going to be very beneficial both for the world and for Turkey.
So I'd like to carry on with you because I'm going to move on to a different subject. So let's just move on and expand on that subject matter further. So when you think of AI applications and transformation in banking, I don't think that we're there yet. But how long do we have until then? What's going to happen? How is it going to look like? Well, in the last decade, let's look at what's happened there. So we're talking about actually several phases of development. It's all about data processing, and there are levels of it. And regulation has brought that into our lives. We have the customers acquisition that's done remotely. We have customer recognition and ID scanning. We already had the technology in place, and we would not be able to normally pass through those KYCs. And then we started robotic process automation. And these have started becoming smarter. And when we think of the process improvements that were standardized, then we turned that into smart. But that was not sufficient. In modeling and targeting and sales were also areas where we started to use AI. And then in fraud and irregularities, now we have ChatGPT in our lives. Welcome, but we have also derivatives and several versions of it. Every company tries to come up with user cases in order to find out how they can immerse ChatGPT. Actually, every company really reflects on that and tries to create user scenarios. Are they sufficient? No. I think we're going to really move very fast. We're going to adapt very fast. And with AI, and we'll have robo consultants. We're going to see how robots will recognize the customer profile and also present the best services to the customers, and we're going to actually offer them to our customers in Turkey. And companies that use and see the value there are going to onboard them very quickly. They are going to evaluate based on their own products and services. So ChatGPT, both on the retail banking and on corporate banking, is going to develop. So we're going to talk about forecasts in the future, but you talked about open innovation. When we think of open innovation, you need to open up. You need to open up to startups. And obviously, we know that there's a lot underway in both banks. Yapı Kredi maybe is just beginning there. But let's begin with Itır. So how is it going right now? I am one of the mentors. I know a little bit, but could you please elaborate on that? We have started forward at a very nice place. We actually did the launch last year. Forward, as the name suggests, talks about focusing on the future, what's next. And Forward is a 360 innovation model. What do we mean by that? So, actually, there is a forward within the bank and also outside the bank as well. We are talking about OpenAI and the ecosystem. Of course, outside in the world, we have Avalanche partnerships, we have acceleration program with kids. You know about those. But let me talk about the content as well. So, unmentioned like startup concepts and super app transitions. Actually, when we think of what's going on in the bank, in order to come up with innovative projects inside, we had just suggestions, propositions at first, and we had an advantage. So we took these propositions. As you know, in banks, there are so many regulatory changes. We wake up in the morning and we have to abide by regulations, and your project planning changes. Like, for example, you plan for Q1 and you have your deadlines, and then, no, you have to start from scratch. Then we said, okay, how to make sure innovation is immune to that? We need to have a failure budget. So we need to test and then experiment. If where you test something, you need to maybe like kill it after a while. And then we onboarded that, and we have an advantage. As the world keeps turning, we have started to be able to invest in these like Aracın Plus, Evin Plus for vehicles and for houses. So we are talking about our colleagues really reflecting on these subject matters and creating them. And we had full support from the top management, and they said, yes, just go on. So we moved really, really fast. So forward on this side is very, very valuable in my opinion. Innovation is not just about metaverse and just having those goggles. That's not just that. But think of a change in credit automation that can really change the lives of your colleagues and that can help touch customers. We're not going to just talk about innovation in digital banking. It's not just a plug in and out. It needs to touch different aspects, and we follow it both inside and also outside. When you think of the outside world, so innovation is triggered. You see something outside, you talk among yourselves, and then we want to integrate internally. How do we do that? How can we move on with startups? How do we support them? So that's when Forward started to emerge, and we have built our roadmap, and we started last year. We're moving on really fast this year. With Avalanche, we signed a partnership. So we had a blockchain theme acceleration. So it's called Fast Forward. We received applications far beyond our expectations, actually. The seeds and investors applied to us. We decided to work with 13 teams, and within the process, the biggest value propositions we had was to make sure that they receive their own investments. We have our GSF. So Forward brand is a step-by-step developing world. We have 3 startups that have received investments already. That's actually, when you're talking about 3 among 12, it's a good rate. They have received substantial investments, and we've had mentorships. We've had VC meetings, and then we also had angel investors. It's not only to bring advantage to startups, because that's what people always think of. No, we'll learn from each other. What can we give them, and how can we how can we elevate what they have done? How can we then integrate it to partnerships? In the past, people used to say, well, are fintechs rivals to banks? Rivals strengthen each other, but we have learned to work together. That's what we have learned in the last decade. In the next decade, I think it's going to go to a whole different level. So Forward is very critical for us. This year, we're focusing on 2 subject matters. One of them is SME partnerships and investments, and we are going to work with companies that are working in this area. We have an open application process. It's about to end. We're expecting you to join us as well. And then we're going to have a second acceleration program for AI. And now the floor is yours. I guess it's really, really mature at your life because, it has a different content there. So what has been happening with you? In the entrepreneurship ecosystem, we're quite experienced right now. And the biggest entrepreneur 99 years ago in this country has this company, and we have been supporting entrepreneurs for 99 years. But in the startup ecosystem, we've been there for 6 years. In the 100th anniversary, in the centenary of our republic, we've had our 11th graduate. So it was a vertically independent program, but we learned a lot. Itır talked about it, actually. Like the basic motivation is to learn together. So when you support a startup, you learn from that. Like, for example, agile culture and interdisciplinary approach, that all mean working together fast. So startups transform big companies, but then we explored and found out about other needs. We have agricultural sustainability program that we started 2 years ago. And in about 2 months, we're going to have a gaming program that's in the pipeline. In terms of AI, we've had a lot of startup engagement, but we're also working on a project underway. As time goes by, we learn, and as we learn, we iterate. So It's been about 4 or 5 years ago when we first started investing with our first fund. 9 startups have been invested by us so far, and 4 of them are graduates of World Cup. So what's happening with them? Actually, I'm very, very honored to say that, because these startups, these alumni, 2/3 of them are actively in the field. So they started 5 years ago and they still carry on with their startups. 40 of them have received $15 million in investment. So the biggest success metric of a program is about being able to receive investments. Well, actually, startup success rate is around 5%, right? So World Cup is a club, it's a community, and it has a startup fraternity inside. And I'm very, very happy. We're very happy to be there. We have partnerships, we have payment solutions, we send our solutions to our customers, and we learn together. So we have become inventors of startups and developers of them. And I don't think that what we have achieved so far is a coincidence. I'd like to add one thing. So we have adopted a mission, a strategy in Turkey. When we think of entrepreneurship, we are leading the way. And we've had a novelty to that. So we have investments, we have accelerators and partnerships. At the end of 2021, we started the first startup branch in Istanbul, in Turkey. So basically, that branch serves the players of this ecosystem. Their only target customer is startup businesses. And then we have Izmir and Ankara branches that followed. Hopefully, this model will be exported, and we would like to establish it abroad as well. That is a part of our strategic targets. We're not just talking about startup services, but you also have meetups, and yeah, because that's a viable value. So everyone can come and have meetings and do their work. We're not talking about traditional work. With their value proposition and their mode of work, it is completely new. I'm also following the time. We don't have a lot of time for the last question. I would like to ask about your forecasts about the future. Well, you already talked about the future so far in every answer, so maybe very briefly, I'd like to start with Itır. So, maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, what kind of estimates do you have? So, what are the 3 technologies that are going to really elevate us? I think we're going to have the same answer. Let's just pick one, each of us. I'm picking AI. Okay. Digital assets. Okay, blockchain. Blockchain, AI. So I guess in the next few years we're going to see those. What about the overlapping areas, blockchain and AI? There are going to be very interesting leaps in those intersections. Do you also agree? Yesterday I talked with Tim and I said especially blockchain and AI look as though they have 2 different streams, but actually there are intersections, and where those interactions happen, there will be huge leaps. I'm expecting such developments from you as well. Maybe very briefly, when you combine all of these, we're talking about centralized banking structures, but 2 years later, when we come back to this room, we are going to talk about decentralized finance and decentralized finance instruments. And we're going to also talk about how we offer them to our customers in the metaverse. Right now, we have not explored and discovered these things, but in 2 years' time, a whole different world of finance will be anticipating us. Actually, it is going to be more complex. It's going to solve even more complex solutions. So blockchain is no longer experimental in the trading platforms, and with different user cases in banks, the usage goes up. Metaverse might look experimental, but it's going to be a part of our lives more and more in the next few years, and we're going to see those days. So, we'll have you in the metaverse, in the 3D scan. So next year, we're going to have the session in the metaverse. Thank you so much for all of this.